It's raining here on the farm again, but that of course does not mean chores stop, so come with me, my friends. We're actually just catching a little bit of a break in the rainfall, and so I figured I'd scurry out here and start doing the chores. Hey, Abby dog, you look a little bit dry. I'm glad to see you're kind of staying undercover. Where's Mr. Toby dog? See, Toby dog's smart. He stays undercover. He's like, pet me inside here, please. Abby, I need you to sit down. Stop trying to steal Toby's sunshine. We're working on this here. Oh, start giving the water to the piggies. Morning, pigs. We'll talk about you in a little bit. But actually, right about now, I need to talk about the next animal that we're gonna have on the farm. And everybody's been blowing up my comments and DMs on this one, but we do need to talk about the goats. And I know you guys are probably saying, but wait a minute, Morgan, you've always declared you would never get goats, and you despise goats, and you think they're horrible for your farm. What gives? Well, my friends, I will tell you what gives. It was you guys. As you might recall, after our community was hit by some devastating flooding, we ended up hosting a 24-hour live stream right here from the farm. I made the offer that if we got $200,000 in donations, we would add goats to the farm. Hey, look, the geese are wandering up around these parts. Ducks and geese are still loving the fact that we have these full ponds to enjoy, so I'm letting them wander down here. Oh dear. I see some animals wandering back there that shouldn't. Now, I thought it was a rather safe bet that we wouldn't hit 200,000, but in hour 23, right as I stepped away to go to the bathroom, my buddy Alfred.
Got a buddy by the name of Alfred. You guys know Alfred, right? My buddy Alfred. He lives on down the road. He's a wizard with machines, a genius in blue jeans. Let's stop and say hello. My buddy Alfred, Vermont's best so-and-so. Bricklaying engineer, surgeon driving heavy gear. Ain't nothing he don't know.
You guys remember my buddy Alfred, right? Well, my buddy Alfred, he actually changed the goal on me. And he said it so that if we hit 100,000, we would end up getting goats.
The goat goal down to 100K. Never leave the live stream unsupervised. Man, that sure seems like the consensus, doesn't it? All right, maybe we need to keep our voice down a little bit. Sounds like somebody's coming by, and I don't want them finding out that we changed things up.
What's that?
We moved the benchmark for the goats.
Oh, where's the goats now?
100K.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not there yet, but.
And since by the end of the live stream, we raised about $104,000. And so that gives our total as, oh boy, we are getting goats because we've got $100,269 on the mark here at 12:10 p.m. Thank you, everybody. This is incredible. Woo! And even in the time after that, we've raised like even more money than that. I'll leave the number here at the time of publishing this video. And because I am a man of my word, we are getting goats. Hey, Toby dog, I'm gonna have to put you on a leash today because we're gonna try a little bit of an experiment. Come on, Bubba. Oh, Toby does not like to go on a leash, but I think he's gonna like this experiment. Okay, all right, good boy. You're not in trouble, and you're not going to the vet, and you're not going to the groomer. Don't worry. Yeah, it's always funny to put Toby dog on a leash because he's totally not used to this sort of thing. All right, Toby, you're coming with me. Come on, kid. Oh, here's your friends Pablo and Ginny. Ginny, I'm gonna need you to move. Come with me. I just need you to follow. We're gonna go slow. All right, maybe that's not the best way to bring him up here. Hey, buddy, you wanna ride up here? Toby, come. No? Yeah, I usually have to pick him up to get him in the truck, so that doesn't surprise me. Toby, you're blocking the way, man. Come here. And I need to take the ATV up because I gotta do some stuff with the birds today. Now you're just sitting between my legs. That's not gonna help anybody. Here, man, follow me, come on. All right, he's doing it. I don't have to hold the leash. I was worried he might wander a little bit because Toby is very prone to wandering and marking his territory. That's kind of why I brought the leash out. But maybe this experiment will work with him just doing his thing. Come on, Toby, or maybe not. Toby, come! Oh, he really doesn't want to leave the yard. All right, we're gonna have to go to plan B on this one. I wanted to try taking Toby up to the top of the pasture today to see if he'd be willing to be a livestock guardian dog up there. But as you can see, he doesn't really want to go anywhere. Walk with me. Let's see if this works. Yeah, see, he'll happily walk with me on the leash. I think he's almost excited to go up. I guess it was just he didn't like following the ATV. He's not like Abby in that regard. All right, Tobes, here we are, top of the pasture. Toby like never comes up here. Like we used to go for walks all the time back when this was not fenced in, but this is now rarely a place he hangs out. All right, Toby dog, I'm gonna go get the side-by-side because we have to move the chicken coop today. I'll be right back. You wait here, okay?
A few minutes later.
I'm pretty sure Toby dog has not moved an inch from the spot I just left him in. Let's rewind and check the tape. You are such a good dog. I really don't deserve you. Oh, did I not record? Oh, dude, did I really screw that up? So I just moved the chickens in the chicken coop and totally just realized I forgot to record everything. This is where sometimes farm work makes you forget the like YouTube work. So my apologies, guys. See, what happened was the chickens were over there. I quickly hitched them to the trailer and dragged them over here. Now I'm ready to release them. And I think the part that I talked about was basically saying that I'm able to move them much more frequently than I did before. And so they're spreading more manure and they're eliminating more flies. And so this is actually making the chickens way more effective on pasture. Viva la Buck Bucks! There's some feed. Look at these happy chickens. They're doing so good. And actually very soon I'm gonna have even more happy chickens because my chicks, or at least the eggs that I have in the incubator, seem like they're gonna hatch in just a few short days. Now, as I'm looking out here, I can tell I've got some very hungry moo crew who probably like some fresh grass, but I do not see where my Toby dog is. Toby dog, come! Oh, there he is. I don't know if you guys can see him, but he's off over there marking the fence line, which is actually the reason I wanted him up here. You see, the one thing I worry about with my chicken experiment is maybe some of the predators that those loose chickens might attract. And so having him and or Abby dog up here marking is good. But in theory, I'm actually considering maybe moving Toby dog up here. Part of me would hate to do that because I know he cares so much about the birds. But on the other hand, he's so good at his job. I know I could just put him up here and he wouldn't even need like a training period. Like he'd be ready to go almost instantly. Like you can see, he's even just sort of over there wandering, exploring, watching the chickens, checking on the cattle, flat out doing his thing. And here's another cool thing that you guys might notice. Little baby Belle and little baby Betty Rubble. You can see they're starting to get their horn nubbins. It's made more obvious because their fur's wet. Aw, she's getting her nubbins. That's so cute. So Betty White, she actually won't get horn nubbins. So that's like the difference between them. Okay, guys, let's move you. Hey, cows! Come on, cows! Fresh grass, come on! Hey, cows! Come on, cows! Fresh grass, come on! Hey, cows! Come on, cows! Fresh grass, come on! So one funny thing you'll probably notice is the adults rush right over here while the calves take their sweet time, because I know the calves have already been jumping under the line to get good grass already. So they're not in any urgency to get to the good side. They only run when they see me coming. So yes, I am actually getting goats. And although I have never really wanted goats, and I said I would never get goats, I'm starting to get excited about the idea of getting goats. You see, because despite the fact that the goats are the spawn of Satan, they actually can do some really good things for the ecosystem of our farm. And trying to embrace that is something I'm starting to think about more and more. How's it going, Bubba? It's really good to see you up here. You seem pretty happy, actually. Now, where is the next water plug? Not on this one, I know. So that means the next water plug should be right here. This is the thing with my water system. I've got them every 3 fence posts. I used to have to lug hoses everywhere that were crazy long every time I moved my animals. And now I only have to move the cattle water every other day, and it becomes just a matter of cheating the fence line ever so slightly. And one of the things I've noticed about grazing my cattle up here is the cattle do a wonderful job with the grasses, and they trample some of the weeds, but they also tend to generally ignore a lot of the weeds. But this stuff is what the goats love to live on. And so as I'm trying to make my plan for how I'm gonna keep goats, one of the things I'm wondering is, what if I have them almost team up with the chickens and have the goats and the chickens following the cattle. Like in theory, they would be part of that cleanup crew, taking out things like goldenrod and other weeds that I'm not necessarily interested in maintaining significantly in my pasture. I think there are a couple of considerations there that make it a less than ideal plan. Like number one, I've heard that milkweed can be very, very toxic for goats, yet they love to eat it. And so since I have so much milkweed up here, that could be a potential problem. Do you guys see that mantis just chilling out right there? Isn't that so cool? Just hanging out on some milkweed, probably trying to find some milkweed beetles to eat. So yes, I'm actually really happy that I have milkweed, but it could present a problem for the goats. When it comes to the goats, I think the other thing that I worry about a little bit is that potentially with all the coyotes that we have, that they could be subject to predation, which is why bringing my friend Toby Dog up here and maybe giving him a little bit of an audition to see how he does up here, that would be a potential solution to that problem, but I'm not sure I can overcome the milkweed problem. And so I don't know if anybody's a goat expert out there, you know, give me your suggestions. And yes, I have several friends who are also goat experts who are giving me suggestions. But I don't know, since it's all of your fault that I'm getting goats, any advice you guys might have could be useful. I gotta admit, this Shade Mobile 1.0 is so much better than Shade Mobile 3.0 in terms of how it's performing on this flatter pasture. I almost regret giving up so quickly on this four-wheeled design. I just don't think the two-wheeled design was gonna be able to stand up to the rigors of cattle the way the four-wheeler has. How's it going, Annie? Where did Toby Dog go? I might have lost him in all these acres and acres of open pasture. Thought he might be down here with the cattle, but it doesn't look like it. It's not to say that I necessarily need a livestock guardian dog up here. These large horned cattle do a pretty good job contending with the local little coyotes we have wandering around. So it's not like I'm terrified. I just don't think they'll have much of a protection instinct for my goats, which still feels like a very weird thing to say. And of Green Gables, you gotta wait until this afternoon before you can get that grass, girl. Come on, back up, back up, back up. You're cheating the line too far. Oh, there's Toby Dog, he's over there. There's still so much grass for them to graze. But yeah, like see, this is a fresh paddock. Look how many weeds there are. By the time I come out here this afternoon or tomorrow morning, some of this will be trampled, pretty much none of it will be eaten. And so it would be a feast for the goats. But of course, there's also this milkweed. And there's no way I'm eradicating all the milkweed in time to get the goats. And I'll also say, I actually don't want to eradicate the milkweed. Sort of the diversity of the mix that I have in the pasture, I see it as a good thing because it's not all about supporting like grazing animals like cattle. There's also a myriad of other insects. I mean, obviously the monarch butterfly is the first one that comes to mind, but even like that mantis I showed you earlier, they're a part of the farm's ecosystem. And if I do something like eliminate all of the milkweed just for the benefit of the goats, I've also probably eliminated all of my monarch butterflies. And I don't necessarily see that as a very good thing. Come on, Bubba, you're coming with me. And for those of you guys wondering if I separated Toby Dog and Abby Dog, I think Abby Dog would miss Toby Dog. I do not think for one moment that Toby Dog would miss Abby Dog. The one thing I will say is Toby Dog takes his sweet time lollygagging around these pastures to follow me. He's not quite like Abby when it comes to being a farm companion. Like he's way back there. So you guys let me know what you think of my potential plan to move Toby Dog, regardless if I move the goats. I'd be curious to get your thoughts. All right, pal, you're back to your home. Now, before I go deal with my farm problem, I did want to take a moment to let you guys know what happened with this beehive. In a previous video, I had some bees that had swarmed and they were sitting on this branch right here. And so I cut the branch off and put it on top of this beehive and hoped for the best. If we look inside there now, what you'll notice is we have bees. So yes, they have actually made this their home. My attempt to capture a swarm has been successful. I probably should move this to a different part of the farm very soon and get them set up. They're not going to be a hive that produces honey for me this year, but I'd love to see if I can get them healthy enough to make it through the winter, and then they'll start producing honey next year. Okay, Abby, don't feel left out. Just because I took Toby on an adventure doesn't mean I don't love you. Have a treat. You were a very good girl while you waited patiently. Now Toby just went back to his greenhouse. Abby Dog, did you just roll your head into cow crap? Really? Aw, girl, you're not gonna like this, but I'm gonna have to put this on you. Sorry. Sorry, girl, you had to get cleaned off. Now I have a task on my hand because my two heifers, Alice B. Tokless and baby Beatrix Potter, have escaped from where they're supposed to be in the pasture, and they're currently wandering around my permaculture orchard, which actually makes me very worried for my trees. You see, one of the first things I ever did when I purchased this farm was I planted about 600 trees, a mixture of chestnut, mulberry, elderberry, black locust, apple. I had originally planted certain things like Siberian pea shrub and walnut, hazelnut. And while some of those tree species have died out, And it really seems like the mulberry, black locust, apple, and chestnut are the most successful. And I've replanted some. It's taken many, many years to get this thing established. And at this point, it gives me a heck of a lot of pride to see something like this apple tree that's, I don't know, almost 15 feet tall, or this 12-foot chestnut tree. You'll actually start to see it's producing some of its very first chestnut burrs. Like, do you see that spiky thing up there? That's gonna ultimately turn into a chestnut. And so really one of the reasons why I'm so opposed to the idea of adding goats to this farm, or I had been historically opposed to it, was because I was terrified of what they would do to this orchard if they ever escaped. Because I mean, all of these trees you see here amount to hours of work and years of patience. And if a couple of goats who are renowned escape artists ever got access, they could destroy years of work in a matter of an afternoon. Now, even keeping the cattle down here has been a risk, and it's had its cost. Like, if you look at this chestnut tree, I keep having to restake it because they knocked it over at one point. There's other trees throughout here that they've actually just full on killed, but it's nowhere near as dangerous as what goats can do. Hey, baby bee, I got a surprise for you. You wanna come with me? While I'm still trying to figure out where I'm gonna put these goats and how I'm gonna keep them and even what sort of breed I'm gonna get, the one thing I'm absolutely certain about is I refuse to put them down here in the permaculture orchard. They will just not be something I feel comfortable keeping out here. I think luckily, because we have this very high fence and we have this electric top wire, that would keep a potential goat from getting inside of here. Come on, Alice, can you follow us? It's very easy to get Baby B to go where I want her to go. Alice B tokeless is much harder, but she's starting to warm up. Plus, Baby B is her best friend, and so wherever Baby B goes, she tends to follow. Of course, the irony is there's all sorts of stuff that grows here on the edges that the goats would be absolutely perfect for. Like this thorny blackberry that we have growing all through here, and some of these other weeds. They would just mow them down. You can see the apples are really starting to come in. Come on, girls, follow me. Let's go. Come on, we're almost in. You have plenty of grass up here. I don't know why you skipped out. Hey, Baby B, I got something for you. You know you want it. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, Baby B can't resist these. And so I've brush trained her and I've alfalfa cube trained her, which I think are two very good skills and not what I would say for Alice B tokeless. Alice, I don't know, she's always gonna be a wild child if I had to guess, but she is starting to learn the benefit of the bucket, which is what you're seeing right here. Whoa, 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 Alice, don't get spooked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, Alice, don't run, don't run, don't run, no! I think I might have spooked Alice with the bucket. We'll give them a couple minutes here. We'll keep going up the hill. I know Baby B is gonna come further, but you can even see Alice is starting to munch on the trees. And just a little bit of that isn't bad, but a lot of it can destroy it, so I gotta be really careful. Let's see if we can send Alice back around, back towards where Baby B is. Go follow your friend. There we go. That's what I like to see. Lock them back in place. There we go. Now we'll connect the fence to electricity so they don't try to get out again. And hopefully we won't have another sneak out. Ah! I just accidentally zapped myself. It's a much stronger charge than the fence up top because the same energizer that keeps the cattle in place also actually keeps the pigs in place. Look at that Abby dog, isn't she so happy? You know, one question that's popped up related to the goats has been what type of goat, like what breed, and I still haven't made a decision because it's gonna be multiple factors. It's gonna be driven by my interests and how much work do I wanna put into them, and I think it's also gonna be driven by availability. I feel like so often people like think about getting an animal and then they fixate on a very specific breed or variety, like right out of the gate, like they wanna get the exact perfect breed. And so while I've said that I'm gonna keep goats and I'm absolutely gonna keep true to my word on that, I'm still trying to figure out some of those other details. And I don't know if I'm gonna keep goats forever. Like I might do this and eat my words and absolutely love it and end up wanting to have goats forever and making it a part of my farm in a major way. Or I might hate it and after 6 months I sell them off and, you know, go and do something else. And so because this is my first foray into this experience, I'm not gonna get so focused on something like breed and make that drive all of my decisions. Looking on like Craigslist or Marketplace or wherever, I'm gonna just see what's available too. Also talk to probably a few of my friends. And so the choice of breed, I'd argue, is actually not the most important decision for this specific experiment. Becoming more in touch with my goals and my animal husbandry context, that to me is way, way, way more important than breed right out of the gate. Hi, Bubba. How you doing? Yeah. I think the one thing that I would really struggle with if I put Toby Dog up top is I wouldn't see him as frequently. I'd only see him like maybe 2 or 3 times a day versus like the 10 or 12 times a day I see him usually. So that is a consideration for me as well. I think another place I'm actually considering keeping the goats would actually be to talk to my neighbor, who's Alfred's uncle and frankly, I blame Alfred a little bit for this predicament I'm in, and see if he wouldn't mind me keeping them basically on the edge between our properties. Because what would be really nice about it is, number one, oh wow, I don't know if you guys can hear that. They're adding more gravel to try to repair the road back there. There's just been dump trucks going constantly this morning, which is really good to see. But I actually will admit, I hope they don't make the road go all the way back. Like, it's just a tiny little road, but that's what ended up turning into a river and becoming so dangerous and fatal here. And I don't know, part of me hopes that they just widen the stream and give it a lot more space to capture water. And they end the road basically on the last house on that road, because for like 3/4 of the length of that road back there, it's like our farm and then 2 other farms, and none of the 3 farms actually use access directly on that road. We all use access on other roads. To me, it would not be a bad thing to like just end the road as a cul-de-sac and try to find ways to prevent what happened from happening again. Like, if I fenced this area off and made it essentially goat access, I think it could work out pretty gosh darn well. I guess if I had to say what's my preferred method right now, I haven't made any final decisions, but using them to clean up the edging right here, it seems like the most logical step, at least as an initial foray. I think the other added bonus is I'm definitely planning on keeping my pigs over here next year. And so any fencing work I do for goats, for the most part, could double up as fencing for pigs. And speaking of the pigs, they have been feasting lately because we're starting to get into apple season here on the farm. And so that means we've been collecting up all the apple drops and they get left out for the pigs. I don't know, the pigs might have even gone off to nap somewhere because they're so full. They have so much food right now, it's ridiculous. They've been pretty much living off of brewer's grains, which is what you're seeing in there, and apple drops at this point. And nutritionally speaking, that's actually pretty good for them. The brewer's grains provide the protein, the apples provide the sugar and carbs. It's like a really good mix for them. And they get kind of all sorts of other good stuff just by ranging around in their pig forest. You know, again, I could easily see making a goat forest run through down this side. I don't think I'd want to keep them directly with the pigs, but having them do a similar job to what I've got the pigs doing right now is definitely on my mind. The other thing I want to say about getting pigs and getting animals in general on any farm or homestead is you should never do it unless you actually want to do it. And I really want to clarify something here. So I know over the years I have talked a lot about not wanting to get goats.
Oh, Tara, I will never ever get goats. Never, ever. And if I ever get goats, I'll probably play this clip.
And so yes, over the years I've talked at length about why goats aren't right for our farm. I don't know. Lately I have been trying to push myself and challenge assumptions more. And I will admit that in the back of my mind, I have been toying with the idea of using goats in a similar way to the way I've used the pigs. And so when I put that initial stretch goal out there of saying, hey, if we hit this goal, we will get goats on the farm, I did it knowing full well that if it happened, I would be okay with it and I would actually embrace it, which is very much the position I feel like I'm in right at this moment. And so for folks who are thinking I'm like doing this extremely unwillingly and I'm being pressured into doing it and I'm caving to audience pressure or I'm doing it for views, anything like that, please take that thought out of your mind. This is very much something I'm doing because I think it could be a potentially good experiment for my farm. I am not certain that goats will make sense long-term or even short-term. And so what you're probably gonna see me get like 2 or 3, maybe 4 goats, not a lot of goats, probably not dairy goats, probably not building all sorts of infrastructure and doing all sorts of things like to make this a goat farm now, but like getting a couple, setting them up somewhere around the farm, see how they do in the fall, see how they do over the winter, see how I'm feeling about everything come springtime, and then maybe from there make some longer term decisions, which is I feel like something anybody who's considering getting any animals or raising any animals for the first time should do. Like next spring, if you want to try to get a couple chickens or a couple of ducks, start with one or the other and get like 6 of them and see how you like it. You might love it, and if you do, by all means, then you should let yourself just embrace the magic of chicken math and let the chickens grow on your farm. Or you could potentially find yourself as one of those folks who gets abducted. But don't ever do something stupid like I did when I first started with ducks and I got like 40 of them right out of the gate. Dip your toe in and go slow. That's absolutely what I've found. And only do one type of animal at a time. You know, all the animals that we've had on our farm, each species, I've been raising now for multiple years. And so throwing goats on top of everything doesn't feel crazy to me. But if you're thinking about goats and chickens and pigs, don't do them all in the same year. Make that like your 3-year plan or goal, and embrace the concept of maybe you have to change course midway through and feel no guilt or shame in doing that. And so yes, I am a farmer who never wanted goats, and I am getting goats, and I couldn't be happier about it. And again, I couldn't be more grateful to all of you guys who have done so much for our community in the last month. Really just want to say thank you. And if goats is a good way to say thank you, sign me right up, my friends. Thanks for watching.